when I finally surrendered and let go, like everything I was looking for was already within me. And I just fully had to accept that to birth it. And so there was so much learning there of surrendering, you know, coming into the body and actually like letting go and realizing that I had been grasping. I'd been grasping so much, and I'd been like trying to be strong and all these things. And like when I finally surrendered and let go, like everything I was looking for was already within me.
Welcome to the Seeing in the Dark podcast, the podcast for the women of the ancient futures. Women that see beyond eyes and know beyond mind and are here to make a change from a deep communion with the mystery of life. Seeing in the Dark is about walking paths that have not been walked before and daring to show up for the mission and dream life that is knocking on your door. My name is Nicole Nyima Costerus, mystic, medium, initiated priestess, and here to take you into the mysteries of purpose, power, ritual, and intuition. May you embody your own unique essence so deeply that your vibration naturally teaches, inspires, and assists others. Let's dive in. Welcome on this week's episode of the podcast. I'm excited because this week I'm going to share with you an Instagram live session that I did together with Sofiah Thom. She is a really beautiful founder of the Temple Body Arts Mystery School, and she lives, breathes, and dances and moves a divine feminine embodiment. We met on an event that was organized by a common friend of ours, Katja Nova. It was the Wealthy Woman Vault, an event where coaches, facilitators, ritualists that embrace wealth in their life and business, they came to teach. And as we met, we started to talk and explore, and we noticed that we both have been struggling with the archetype of the strong, independent woman in our lives, and also that we both could see how overly embodying the strong, independent woman can actually block true wealth to come your way. It's a really interesting conversation, one that definitely changed my life in the sense that the more that I started to surrender the strong, independent woman within, the more I learned to truly and deeply receive, and through that, the more wealth and well-being could come my way. All about this and more in this beautiful conversation between Sofiah and I this week on the podcast. Enjoy.
I founded and birthed many things in the world here, with a retreat center here in Costa Rica, where I lived 15 years ago. I birthed a festival, a huge transformational festival called Envision Festival that was actually sparked from our wedding. Yeah, there's been so many births. I birthed Temple Body Arts Mystery School of Living Tantra and Sacred Sensuality. And I'm just listening, to what wants to be shared, right? Because there's so much. So I just really invite us to just like listen as the channel that we are. And what's wanting to come through right now is, you know, a big part of my story and my purpose here is being a spiritual midwife to support women in birthing themselves and birthing their true dharma and what they're here to bring through that is fully aligned with their divine essence, their signature soul essence. Almost 7 years ago, I was on quite a journey. And I think this can be, you know, a good kind of segue as well. I mean, I think, you know, I moved to Costa Rica 16 years ago and birthed Danyasa Eco Retreat with my husband. And you know, created this beautiful retreat center. It was like such a dream, and had this dance studio and got to have this space, but found myself then actually running the retreat center and being bloody miserable, like pushing and doing all these things that like weren't actually aligned because I wasn't actually dancing and in my joy, and I wasn't prioritizing also my own spiritual practice and my own practice at that time. Like I would just always get overwhelmed and I'd be pushing and trying to do all these things, and like it would always come back to when I finally like would go and do my practice. It was like, Sofiah, you need to do this every day. And it took me so many years to finally really receive this as absolutely like a non-negotiable in order for me to show up as a leader and to birth all that I was here. And it was really a whole journey of trying to get pregnant actually for over 5 years with my husband and kind of pushing that, and also pushing all these other things that I wanted to do. And I was just pulled in all these different directions, had all these different dreams and desires, and just didn't know how to focus my energy. And like, really, I was just pulled, and I didn't have that discernment, understanding, or really like the discipline that we need to really show up for ourselves and to listen to that guidance that's living within us. Yeah. And for me, it was through the whole journey of finally getting pregnant, actually, after trying for so long, and then being like, this is it. And then actually losing it, and almost losing my life through that journey, and going through this deep, deep initiation of grief, and going into my womb space and really allowing it to open up this new dialogue with my womb, and to create all of the temple body arts practices then that I then ended up sharing. But it was like my deep initiation, deep, deep, deep into my own temple body, to really receive and to recognize that actually I'm here as a spiritual midwife, you know, and I consciously chose to let go of that desire in order to fully birth temple body arts and like really show up in a bigger way. And so there was so much learning there of surrendering, you know, coming into the body and actually like letting go and realizing that I had been grasping. I'd been grasping so much, and I'd been like trying to be strong and all these things. And like when I finally surrendered and let go, like everything I was looking for was already within me. And I just fully had to accept that to birth it. And yeah, so that was now like 6 years ago, and the journey from then has been an amazing journey and continues to be. But just wanted to share some of that story.
Like, one of the things that I feel like really touched me in what you just shared right now is when you said, I was running my center. This idea of like needing to have control over our lives, right? Like, we are the ones doing, we are the ones deciding, we are the ones directing our life. And when I look back at my life and my journey, it was very similar. Like, really living my life as that strong, independent woman that like got it all under control. Right? Like, from a very early age, I was someone that would take on responsibilities from the ones around me. I was strong and I could do it all. But actually, deep inside of me, there was this little girl hiding, you know, was scared to truly surrender to life. Because I feel once we can truly surrender to life, we don't need to run life anymore, but life starts to, in a way, run us in a good way.
Yes, we align and we're guided. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I love how you shared that. Very beautiful. I feel curious because you said this was a non-negotiable for me. What, if you could phrase it in 1 or 2 sentences, what was that non-negotiable that you decided to commit yourself to?
Yeah, was to actually, I mean, I feel like it's a radical act of self-love. You know, when we actually, like, it doesn't matter what is going on in your world, if it's just crazy and you have all of these things in the list and this and that, we have to show up for ourselves. We have to fill our cups, because otherwise we're just not connected. We're not connected to our soul, to our divine essence, to our compass, to our discernment. You know, we just get pulled outside of ourselves. And so for me, my whole life, I feel like, has completely shifted since then, because I finally said yes to myself.
Yes.
One of my taglines is like, live your yes. And it's so much about like, in order to truly live our yes and like align with the highest frequency of yes, we also have to have a strong discernment, and we have to know how to say no. To have the knowing for the no is also what I say, to like be able to really like create boundaries. That's also like an act of self-love, and to like recognize, you know, to reflect and to see, like, I feel like for both of us and for everyone tuning in, like those times in our lives when something is out of alignment, you know. And it happened again. Like, I birthed my whole school, and I created this incredible multi-6-figure business with a team of 10, and had, you know, 50 students at a time. And I was like teaching them how to birth their own work into the world, and bringing through all of these different layers. And at the end of the year, it was actually at the end of 2021. So, you know, during the pandemic. And I mean, I just was like a creative machine, just like creating and giving and serving. But at the end, I was burnt out. All of these crazy, weird, kind of chaotic things started to happen, and with certain people in my life, and realizing like, oh, I was gripping on, I was trying to control, I was thinking that I needed this person on my team, otherwise it would all fall apart. But actually, no, that was not good. Like there was red flags there that I wasn't listening to because I was gripping on. So I feel like this control piece again, right? Of like,
Yes.
okay, I've got this, I'm doing it. Yes, I check CEO, yes, six figure, you know, all the thing, the launches, the this and that. And then at the end of it, I was like, hold on a second. I'm saying I'm here to support you to design your life aligned with your essence, but there's something out of alignment here. And so again, like needing to fully come back home into myself and take space and kind of like be willing to let it all go in order to like find that true, you know, North Star and the yes within. And I feel like, yeah, this is something similar that happened to you, right, recently.
Yeah, in so many ways. I mean, when you just said like to live your yes, I remember I made this promise to myself in 2014. And I just said, I'm from now on only committing to my inner guidance, to where my intuition guides me in each moment. And I don't care how scary it is. I don't care what other people think about it. I don't care if I don't know if it will work out. I'm gonna do it no matter what. And so I started doing that like super basic, like on the weekends, because at that time I was still working full time as a social worker. And so I started to make space on the weekends to really follow my intuition and follow what feels nourishing or exciting for me. And before I knew it, it would just spread out throughout my whole week and throughout my whole life. And then I had this big, big change of like a year or so where I ended my relationship. I quit my job. I shaved my head. I sold my car, quit the lease on my house, stored all my things, and I went to India. And I feel from that moment on, my life was not the same anymore. And one of the things I had to learn is what you also so beautifully said, is that willingness to let go of it all. And to trust that when you take that leap and you dare to let go of it all, that life catches you, right?
Yes.
Because that's the
Wow.
thing, like, I think that's the biggest fear. I think when we could name a few of the aspects of that strong, independent woman archetype, which also can be a beautiful archetype, but once she
Yes.
goes like in her extremes, we kind of cut ourselves off from the deeper guidance that is always available. So for me, it was controlling, trying to control the people around me, trying to control the situations around me, trying to control how my business would grow, right? And so I needed to dare to let go. And for me in 2016, it was to dare to let go of my whole life, basically. But still, I can see how life keeps inviting me into deeper and deeper layers of daring to give it all back to life and trusting that whatever comes back is an even better vibrational match to who I am right now. Like in so many ways, right? I've gone through that with my business in so many ways as well. Because for me, it was like I just was for so long in my business, which also grew into like, I want to share so many things at the same time, but in my business, for me, there was this point where I had to recognize I cannot do it all by myself, because as solopreneurs, we are like our own marketing agent, we are our own copywriter, we are our own like everything, right? Like 10 roles in one. And for me, like I would say 2 years after the moment that I had to start working with a team, I started working with a team, and I was in a burnout as well, because I just waited too long, because it was too scary for me to let go and like
Right.
allow in support. And I think this is one of the biggest challenges for the strong independent woman. If she's too strongly with us, we cannot allow in love, truly. We cannot allow in support, truly. And we can also not allow in money, truly. And we cannot allow in life, truly, right? Because the strong independent woman then becomes this armored warrior that cuts herself off, and that was me. So in a way, I sometimes say I'm a recovering strong independent woman, because I can see how there's always deeper and deeper and deeper layers to surrender and to let go of, right?
I love this. And I feel like as you're speaking, like this archetype of the strong, independent woman. Because, yeah, I mean, God, don't we all want to be strong and independent? There is this desire, right? There's this desire. And I think that it can be when it's in balance. I feel like the strong, independent woman, when she is balanced in her masculine and feminine, then she works for us.
Yes.
But if she is actually trying to, yeah, there's like the shadow masculine energy of like the patriarchy, and us as women, like what's happened is we've been, we're trying to like do it all. We've got this, oh, we're just as good as you, we're better. Like there's this pushing, there's this achievement, like we have these old paradigm belief systems that are living within us, that think that we need to control, that we need to push, that, we have to work hard to make the money, to do all the things. And this is where we're more from the masculine, but not even like a balanced masculine. Because when it's a balanced masculine, then there's like, we need the masculine because that's the structure, that's the focus, that's the stillness, that's that pillar that we need so much. We need those funnels to be able to receive the money. Like all of that is the masculine. And then the feminine, the actual like true feminine, is our capacity to be open to receive.
Yes.
To be in the yes, more please, like yes. And actually to be in pleasure, like pleasure over pressure became one of the things that we like started to be like, okay, hold on, if we're going into pressure, no, we need to rewire this into pleasure. Because pleasure is our birthright. Pleasure is like we are energetically embodying and even opening up the receptors, and even in the brain, like, on a brain chemistry and on a physiology way, like it opens us up to receive in all ways.
Yes.
Now, if we just move through life like that too, like, and don't have the structure and the masculine, that's not
then
going to
nothing
support us
happens.
too. We need the sacred marriage
Yes.
of that feminine, open, pleasure, receptive, capacity to be fluid and to be flexible and to pivot and to trust and to give birth to, and all of these things, and to nurture our businesses.
It's still quite new, because when I look at the generations before me of the women, my mom was like in the time where it was the feminists, right? Like the feminists, because there was suppression of the women,
Right.
and the women didn't have equal rights. And so they needed that anger, and they needed that rage to break free from something. These strong, independent women that had the same rights and could have jobs that men were also having. But then what I can see is like a lot of women then started to fit into the mold of becoming how a man does the things, right? And so I feel that it's a really natural next wave in the collective of now seeing, hey, I can also be in my feminine and create like a beautiful union of that masculine and feminine. Because the healthy masculine doesn't work from a place of tension and being armored and being like hardened, right? The healthy masculine, yes, offers that structure, but not to the point where you need to like push yourself into exhaustion or need to like force yourself, and actually underneath it's driven from this deep, deep unsafety. Because that's what I discovered. I feel curious what you discovered at the core of burnout or at the core of pushing. For me, it was a deep, deep sense of feeling unsafe inside myself and unsafe with life. Because I noticed the more that my body truly can feel safe within myself and truly feel safe with life, it naturally breathes out. It's naturally more open, naturally more receptive and available.
That's actually something I teach. I have a whole course on the sacred marriage. And when you're just speaking of that and asking me, it's like our feminine needs to trust our masculine.
Yes.
And if we don't trust our own inner masculine, it's going to show up in the world around us as well. And so, yeah, we need to feel safe with our masculine holding space, protecting us in order to be able to let go.
Yes.
So we do need that. And I think for me, I feel like it was something different. It was almost more of like achievement and getting like influenced by the world I was in, which was very much like women rocking business and like this kind of way that you're supposed to do it, this strategy that you're supposed to do it. And I was following the strategy. That was kind of my masculine, actually, if I think about it now, rather than trusting my own masculine to create my own strategy. Maybe that was it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And then I really ended up like kind of shifting my school and then birthing the mystery school, because it was like, it was Temple Body Arts for embodied feminine leadership. And then it was like, oh no, like the mystery school needs to come through, because this is at the core its essence, and this sacred marriage of the masculine and feminine. There's so much here. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I feel like, wow, we could go into so many different realms here. And I just feel like I want to bring it back to just seeing also, yeah, like our capacity to really come into the feminine space of being, I like to actually say, make love to life, to make life your ritual. And I feel like that has been this way that we also connect of like, okay, yes, there's all the shoulds, there's all the strategies, there's all the things to follow. And yet if it doesn't feel aligned, if there's that pressure or that like, I'm not sure here, like we need to come back to our practice, to listening, to being in communion with life, and to allow ourselves to be guided to shift.
In connection with what we've been sharing about before, specifically, I feel curious how that is for you around your process with surrendering the strong, independent woman or bringing her into balance. How has that changed for you, your relationship with wealth and money?
Yeah, well, recognizing I'm actually just seeing one of my mentors, this beautiful man who many years ago, I remember when I was really like kind of struggling and pushing and like trying to make it all work. And he's like a father of 4 and, you know, had a whole online business. And he's just like, and I ran into him at this event and I'm like, how are you doing? He's like, amazing. He's like, you know, it's really when I stop and I'm playing with my kids and I'm taking time for myself that more money flows in. Like, I heard this from a man, you know, it was a moment that just stuck with me. I just really wanted to share that piece because, yeah, just hearing that and then beginning to see it in my own life of, yeah, really when I'm connected to my pleasure, as I said, to my body, to my essence, to my womb, when I'm honoring my womb cycles, when I'm slowing down, when I'm trusting in the cycles of life also, because like as women, we are cyclical, just like life and like the seasons, and it's the same. It can be the same for money too. And it's like, it is a reciprocity. So it comes in and it goes out, and trusting in this flow as well. And also like trusting that when we're investing in what is fully aligned. I mean, I recently just put down $75,000 of my own money. So talking about investing, like this was huge for me. We said on the land that I'm on right now, like this has been a dream for 15 years. And we were going to go with this guy who was like, I'll pay for the whole thing, blah, blah, blah. But then just something was out of alignment. And we said no. And then we had a very short amount of time to find the money. And, you know, I was like, well, I could actually put this much down. And it was just the most liberating, amazing feeling to be able to like invest this money that I had created for my business into the land. And at the same time, it was a huge stretch because it was like everything that was in my bank in that moment. And I was trusting. I know that this is aligned and I know that it will bring it back, you know. And so like being in that trust with life, as you were saying before too, and being able to like hold that strong anchor and belief. And, you know, it's a constant, like we're being really stretched right now in a big way. And it's like a constant recalibration that I need to do to like come into and actually stretch to be able to hold more, receive more, and trusting the guidance that's coming. And so yeah, it's been quite a journey, and I feel like I have been constantly guided to like let go and actually come back home, as I said before, like come into myself, into my womb, to listen, to soften, to be vulnerable, and not be that strong independent woman, but like actually not know and trust it. Like
Yes.
that, I'm actually right there right now. Like that's where I am. And it's like, it's intense. And I wouldn't be able to be here right now if I didn't have all of the practices to really embody my divine inheritance and my prosperity codes, and like to understand that it's actually a frequency, an energetic frequency, and like a belief system that we hold and carry in ourselves, and that we have the power
Yes.
to like shift that. So
And that's what living life like a ceremony is all about, right? Because it's one thing to go to a retreat and go through all these transformational experiences, or go through a temple space or whatever experience, but it's another to be able to meet life as if we're in ceremony. So all we have to do is like say yes to the challenges that it naturally serves us, and it will open us in the ways that we've been looking for. Like it will open us to the versions of ourselves that we've always wanted to be. But it's just that we need to kind of breathe through the discomfort
well, I was
along
gonna
the way.
say, and have courage, have fucking
Have
courage. I
courage.
mean,
And that's
yeah, it
something we
takes
can
a lot.
train, right? Because I
Yeah.
wasn't courageous. Like when I was in my job as a social worker, when it came to my business and making decisions, I wasn't that courageous. So I was training myself for almost 10 years
Beautiful.
now, training my courage to the point where I now dare to walk blindfolded because I know I'm guided by life, you know? And I know it's
Love that.
okay when like maybe one of the most biggest, safest offer in my business suddenly wants to go, that I can have the courage to say, yes, here you go. I give it back. Because I know that something will come back to me that is even more aligned, and that allows me to be who I feel within is me in my fullest potential, right? So that for me is what living life like a ceremony is all about. To have the courage to say yes when your inner guidance guides you somewhere and it stretches you to the edge of what you can handle.
Yeah.
And
Oh my God.
still you
And there's moments
breathe.
where you're like, what the hell is going on here? I don't even
Yes.
know. But we're being tested. It like that is the training. It's like this Jedi training, you know, this priestess
Yes.
training, whatever you want to call it. But like to really like no matter what's happening around us or what people are saying or like what we've been told, or it's like no, trusting ourselves, trusting the guidance. And yeah, it can be hard. I mean, and I feel like the masculine can question that deep
Yes.
intuition. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting dance that I moved through with my husband of almost 17 years, and like how different we are, but actually how, yeah, he ultimately does trust me, but there's moments, yeah, where it's like really challenges him when, yeah, it's like he can't see it physically, but I'm like, it's happening. Believe me, like
Yeah.
it's gonna be okay. And like I managed to like manifest $600,000 like within a week, like to buy to like complete the purchase of this land, like after we put down the deposit. And he was just like, how did you pull that rabbit out of a hat? You know, I was like, I told you. And yeah, so it's like, and now we're in another moment where we're like, okay, where is it coming from? What's happening here? You know, and it's just like, it's this level of training.
Yes.
And so I think when we just, yeah, the more that we train ourselves to really trust our own intuition and the guidance, and to value ourselves, the more that we're guided. But it's when we distrust ourselves and make choices out of fear that can kind of take us off track.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, we can always come back though, always come back and
Yeah.
yeah, and like remember and realign and yeah, come back to the ceremony.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I feel like when you make choices from fear, like, I get this question so often, like, how do I know which one is the right one? Because the aligned choice can bring up so much fear as well, right? And for
Yes.
me, like, what I notice is that when I go from an aligned decision and it brings up fear, it doesn't matter, even if I'm shaking with fear throughout my whole body, at the core of my being, I know this is the right
Exactly.
decision.
You
Yes.
feel that.
Yeah,
That's that frequency of yes, I call it. Like when,
exactly.
yeah, the full body yes. And
Exactly. And the other one, when I would make the decision from fear or contraction, that at the core of me, there is contraction or limitation or some belief where I don't believe that everything is possible for me or
yeah.
something along the lines of that.
The more of us that really tune in to these new ways of being in relationship to money and shifting that, then it ripples out, and that's how we can truly birth a new paradigm.
Yeah.
This time.
Because imagine the world where more of the money is in hands of heart-centered and soul-based people, but also heart-centered and soul-based women. Like, imagine what the world would look like then, right?
Oh, can
Because
we just take a moment to feel that? I know, I'm just
yeah,
like, yeah, as you're speaking, yeah, just inviting all of you tuning in to just like visualize it. As Nicole, you can just speak into it.
yeah. So as you're visualizing, I invite you to remember that money is innocence. That whatever quality money will have in the expression into the world is determined by the one who wields the money. Yeah, so it means that when more of the money moves through heart-centered and soul-based beings like you and me and everybody who is listening here, imagine what the world would look like then. Because since the money system is still here today, we might as well fully embrace it and change it from the inside out. Because research actually shows that when women acquire wealth, they tend to bring everybody around them with them into wealth. So they share it with their communities and let everybody around them rise with them as well. So feeling that world where we can co-create that magic. We can say yes to money and know that more money amplifies who we already are. So if you are a genuine being, like with your heart in the right place, when you acquire more money and wealth, that quality within you only amplifies even more. You can trust that, because I know there can be things coming up when we think about money, many things, but you can trust that when you start to welcome more money, it will only amplify who you already are at your core. Yeah.
So powerful. Yeah, and just doing these visualizations daily, and every time that we spend money, like just really bringing our full presence, like what is your attitude in that moment? Do you feel like good about spending money? Are you contracted in that way? Because how we are with money and feeling like, yes, it can be this currency of love.
Yeah.
To really spend money on what we love and what we value, and it comes back, and feeling this dance of reciprocity. Thank you, Nicole. It's been so divine.
Yes.
So
Thank
happy to
you.
connect with you. And yeah, for all of you that have been tuning in, I hope you've received some gems here. Such an honor to weave with you, Nicole. Thank you.
Same. I wish you a beautiful day, and also everybody listening here. Did you receive any inspiration, motivation, or powerful breakthroughs by listening to this episode? Then please share this episode by taking a screenshot and tagging me in your stories at nicole.nyima.costerus. I would love to celebrate you, share you in my stories, and it would mean so much to have my work reach more powerful, passionate women like you. Thank you so much, and looking forward to see you next week.